Margaretville Board talks water rates and cannabis tax. Stamford plans hearing to cut the noise. Middletown Board puts solar projects on hold. These are just some of the headlines this week. Welcome to CatskillsAir. I'm Jessica Murphy with your latest local news. Joining me now is Matt Avitable, editor and publisher of the Mountain Eagle and Catskills Chronicle. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's get right to the news. It was the February board meeting time, and topping the agenda at Margaretville's town board meeting were two hot issues, water and pot. Matt, what's the news about boosting water rates and taxing cannabis sales?
This is interesting because some of it follows the weather. So the village of Margaretville had a number of frozen pipe calls. Current fee structure is $75 during weekdays, $100 during weekends. Trustees proposed keeping current fees for first-time offenders and adding an additional $100 for repeat offenders. One of the trustees, Jeffrey Warren, noted that the water rates are still lower than many of the other municipalities, despite the increase from last year. Trustee Sarah Hubble also talked about a potential increase in other areas, given recent issues with water breaks and other concerns. In addition, one of the major themes of the meeting was talking about cannabis fees. The village received more than $50,000 in cannabis revenue from tax in 2025. State law requires the 8% sales tax to be split among all government bodies in which the sales shop is located. State got 4%, county got 2%, and the rest went between the town of Middletown and the village of Margaretville. And with that, we wound up seeing Middletown gifting its share to Margaretville, but ultimately it looks like a good amount of money that'll hopefully forestall some other tax increases.
And it's getting loud in Stamford. Apparently there's a public hearing on a proposed noise ordinance. Matt, reportedly there's been a lot of loud music and fireworks happening there. So what is the town's plan of attack?
If you're concerned about noise, the public hearing is going to be March 11th at 5:45. It was a significant theme. We wound up seeing several residents discussing possible changes due to excessive noise. They mentioned that they were concerned about visitors coming and going all summer. When the residents talked about the noise problems, they wound up hearing not much from law enforcement because there is no noise ordinance. So they're asking the town ultimately to pass it.
Reporter Mary Crisafulli had a detailed article on the Middletown board meeting. Topics discussed range from a public hearing on solar development to the redesign of the transfer station. Matt, can you go through some of the major items that they covered?
Another public hearing coming up, this time Wednesday, April 1st at 6 o'clock. If put in place, the moratorium for future solar projects will be in place for 6 months. The supervisor, Glenn Faulkner, said that residents shouldn't be afraid of the language, especially since it mirrors the language of a resolution from July of last year. The moratorium was improperly filed. It has to be redone. So it's up to the town board to decide about these solar projects.
Harpersfield Town Board also plans a public hearing about laws governing mobile home parks and campgrounds. Matt, the issue seems to be cleanliness. Is that correct?
Absolutely, especially considering there's been a fair amount of talk about camping in Harpersfield in recent months. So they wound up having a discussion about cell tower communications. No one spoke during the hearing. Furthermore, the bigger discussion seemed to be about mobile home parks and campgrounds. They had a member of the town planning board, Walt Keller, there, who was saying that the planning board should get input from all stakeholders about this. After many of the issues in recent months, it sounds like they're going to consider some regulations for local mobile home parks and campgrounds.
And there was also talk of adopting a Cold War veterans property tax exemption. Is that correct?
Yes, anyone who served in the United States Armed Forces between September 2nd, 1945 to December 26, 1991, and was discharged or released therefrom under honorable conditions and has a qualifying condition can receive this credit.
Stamford has an empty village board seat that headed up their meeting along with talk of culvert and road repairs. Can you go over these topics for us?
So no one's going to be on the ballot. This has actually happened recently, and the seat is up for grabs. If you're interested in running for village board, there's going to be an election Wednesday, March 18th from noon to 9 at the Stamford Village Hall right on Main Street. Ultimately, nominating petitions needed to be filed by February 10th. There's going to be a second trustee seat that will be filled in by write-ins for the second time in 2 years.
Reporter Liz Page was at the Courtright Board meeting where much of the talk was about rising water rates and highway budgets. So Matt, why are the rates going up in Bloomville?
Current water district budget is $31,500, but current costs will be about $33,000. It's going to be about a $1,500 shortfall, and the suggestion is that there will be a $50 per month or $100 per year increase to provide a cushion, according to Supervisor George Haynes. The infrastructure at the water plant is now 25 years old and most likely will have to be replaced or repaired in the future.
The Ulster County Democratic Committee overwhelmingly endorsed Michelle Frazier as its candidate for Senate District 51.
Two major changes happened in our state races. One, Michelle Frazier received the overwhelming support of the Ulster County Democratic Committee in her race for New York Senate District 51. We also saw a significant change in the assembly race as former Congressman Mark Molinaro announced that he is running for state assembly, and two candidates, Wyndham Town Supervisor Tom Hoyt and George Amador, both dropped out or are going to drop out of the race. So it looks like lots of stuff's happening in the Senate and assembly races.
There's going to be a conservation easement roundtable in Hamden for landowners. Matt, describe this program and what it means to farmers and homeowners in our area.
This roundtable is designed for landholders who are interested in learning about an agriculture conservation easement or a forest conservation easement. It's going to be March 13th. There's going to be practical overviews of how conservation easement works and more information if you'd like to come.
And big kudos go out to the Catskill Center once again. It's been honored with a Chesapeake Wild Grant. Matt, that sounds really cool. What is the grant for?
Lots of good news has been happening at the Catskill Center recently. They announced almost $54,000 through this Chesapeake Watershed Investments in Landscape Defense, or called WILD grant. It's going to support early detection of aquatic invasive species in the upper Susquehanna watershed through environmental DNA sampling. It's funded through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in partnership with the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. It's good for local fisheries and it's good for the environment.
February is National Healthy Heart Month, and you talked to Bassett Healthcare's top cardiologist this week. So what did he mean when he said he wants to take the mystery out of heart health?
I had a really good conversation with Dr. Nitish Tiwari. He told me quite a bit about heart health and some of the things that can add up, good and bad. He said there's a lot of obvious stuff about how the heart can be damaged. Someone, especially with a family history of it, maybe someone that doesn't move around a lot, someone who smokes. But he also said there's things that could be done to help make sure that the heart is healthier. I have a list in there that he shared with me. And he also talked about how to identify the signs of a stroke or heart attack and about the top-notch equipment and team that Bassett has in Cooperstown in case you fear that you or a loved one are having a heart attack or stroke.
And the beat goes on, the crime beat that is. A Walton man was charged with contraband in Delaware County Prison. The Delco Sheriff deputies stopped a car in Delhi, and that led to a few broken laws. Matt, tell us how a routine traffic stop escalated into bigger problems for the driver.
This all happened on February 6th. Deputies were traveling on Main Street when they observed a vehicle traveling without tail lamps illuminated, pulled over the driver, and found 19-year-old Kaylee Gable of Fremont Center, New York. After the investigation, the deputies arrested and charged Gable with driving while intoxicated and aggravated unlicensed operation in the second degree. Both of these are misdemeanors. There's also traffic summonses for a number of different traffic infractions.
There were a number of driving arrests in this week's paper, from the suspended licenses to DWIs. So to learn more, check out the Mountain Eagle. West Branch Commons is closing in on its goal to buy Catskills farmland. Matt, can you explain what the West Branch Commons is and why they're buying up this land?
West Branch Commons is an excellent effort to try and bring in a multi-year mission to secure regional farmland through a community land trust model. According to their January fundraising update, they were about 60% of the way to their goal. They've raised almost $600,000 towards their goal of almost $1 million. They hope to establish what they call a more equitable approach to land ownership in the Catskills. A lot of credit to Josh Youngquist for his article. And we have some feedback, especially from the event from the fall, included.
Hobart residents braved sub-zero temps to support their community. Matt, the Hobart Alliance is really bringing neighbors together. Tell us more.
On January 29th, we had the get-together at the Hobart Community Center. Despite the fact that it was below zero outside, more than a dozen volunteers made it. They talked about a number of different efforts. They're working on the Hobart Entry Sign Project, as we talked about before. We also had a presentation at the Hobart Village Trustees. There's hope for village playground improvements, a significant opportunity for the Hobart Community Foundation grant, and discussion about the comprehensive plan. We're going to have quite a bit more as Carolyn sinks in on many of these issues.
And a new business opened in Stamford, and it's just for fun. It's called the Game Vault. Well, that sounds like a really fun idea. Matt, what's the word?
Michaela Sport has opened up this excellent effort called the Game Vault, attempting to reach out to people of all ages. If you want to play video games, if you want to play board games, if you just want to get together, try your hand at the arcade, please stop on by. It's at 79 Main Street in Stamford.
Well, I am certainly thinking about summer. I cannot wait. And that means it's time to get your kids' summer camp fun planned. I love it. Matt, who and how can kids get a campership from 4-H Camp Shankatunk?
Many local students and many local adults have benefited from Shankatunk and have fond memories. If you are interested, you can also receive this scholarship. You can receive a $25 discount all the way up to having the entire cost of $500 covered. If you want to find out more, we have contact information in the paper. Please reach out. 4-H has done a lot, as well as Cornell Cooperative Extension, to try and make this as open to as many young people as possible.
We love our fire towers here in the Catskills, and there's a cool piece this week on their past, present, and future. Matt, you got some great photos too?
Absolutely. These ones were contributed. In fact, we have one from 2004 and another one from the 1950s as a postcard. We'll be covering this one in person. If you'd like to make it, it's Saturday, February 28th at the Hobart Exchange, 40 Cornell Avenue at 3 p.m. If you want to find out about the past of the fire towers, the present, and perhaps most importantly, the future, make sure to stop by.
How about banging a drum? What are the details on the Native American drumming event in Shandaken?
I got this from Joe Preboy of the museum, who has been an excellent resource. February 28th, Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. There's going to be Native American drumming, stories. You can hang out with friends and make new ones, snacks, and a lot more. Please make sure to make it at the Shandaken Historical Museum on Academy Street in Pine Hill from 1 to 3.
Well, that's a lot of news this week. For more on these and other articles, pick up the Mountain Eagle or Catskills Chronicle. But Matt, before you go, can you give us a sneak peek at what's coming up next week?
Absolutely. We're going to have some really good coverage of the upcoming championship games that are being held in Stamford. We're also going to be working on updating our sports packages. CatskillsAir and our partnership with SUNY Oneonta has provided some really good progress. I know that we're also going to be reporting as the villages of the area enter into budget season.
Well, thanks for keeping us all up to date, and we will see you next week.
See you then.
And now it's time to talk sports. Here's John with everything from baseball, spring training, yes, to local basketball wins.
It's always a good sign, a positive omen. Baseball spring training games begin this week. That's right. Our New York teams, the Yankees in Tampa and the Mets in Port St. Lucie, get new seasons underway. Both teams with high hopes this could be the year they bring home a World Series trophy. Yankee fans have accused their team of running it back, of bringing back the same roster as last year's team, a team that failed to reach the World Series. Why shouldn't the Yankees bring it back? The guys in pinstripes led all of baseball in home runs and runs scored last season. Seems reasonable to assume the Yankees will be strong on the offensive side. And with former Cy Young winner Garrett Cole and lefty pitching ace Carlos Rodon returning from injury to join last year's ace Max Fried and rookie sensation Cam Schishler, the Yankees starting pitching should be strong. Look for the Yanks to be a major player in the American League East. On the other side of town, it's the same goals, but a new look Met roster that is challenged to meet those goals. Gone are fan favorites Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, and Edwin Diaz, the bedrock of Met teams for several years. New in orange and blue will be Freddie Peralta, Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Marcus Simeon, and Louis Robert Jr. Almost too many names for me to pronounce. That's a ton of change with just a little bit of time to get accustomed with one another. One thing is certain, the opening of spring training feels like seeing your first robin in the backyard. Winter is losing its grip, with spring just around the corner. It's an in-between time on the local basketball scene with league championship contests and the start of the Section 4 championship tournaments, both primed to get underway. Delhi Boys Academy, the number 2 seed in the MAC Championship Tournament, outlasted third-seeded Walton Downsville 55-38, the Bulldogs winning their 14th consecutive game and reaching the MAC title game with the victory. Delhi used a balanced scoring attack with 5 guys scoring 7 or more points, led by Levi Sheffert's game-high 12 points. Lucas Nellis added 10, Benny Schnabel and Lincoln Raba 8, and Teddy Kelch down 7 for the Bulldogs. Delhi will tackle Unitigo Franklin in the championship game. On the girls' side of the MAC Championship Tournament, it was Delhi again reaching the title game. The top-seeded Bulldogs toppling 4th-seeded Sydney 61-49. Delhi's scoring tandem of Danielle Ennis and Tyler Apps led the way, scoring 20 and 18 points respectively. Lexi Davis added 9 more and Paige Weaver 8 for the Bulldogs. Delhi will square off against number 2 seed Bainbridge Guilford in the championship game. In the Boys Delaware League Championship Tournament, top-seeded SK Andes downed number 4 seed Charlotte Valley 56-24. Parker Pop paved the way for the Rams, scoring a game-high 23 points. SK's long-range shooting whiz, Boston Carino, hit 4 shots from behind the three-point arc, adding 16 more. SK will face number 2 seed Stanford Jefferson in the title game. Stanford Jefferson made it to the title game in a defensive struggle, defeating Gilboa Roxbury 44-33. Pat Kirk and Matt Eisel reached double figures, Kirk scoring 17 points and Eisel 10. It was the same schools, but in a different order, to reach the girls' Delaware League title game. Top-seeded Stanford Jefferson facing number 2 seed SK Andes for the championship. SJ reached the title game, downing 4th-seeded Margaretville 73-29, with SK Andes bouncing Hunter Tannersville 60-21. That's our local sports report for this week.
Thanks, John, and congrats to Delaware Academy. Delaware League and Section 4 high school team ski championship results are in. Wyndham Ashland Jewett dominated. There's more details in this week's paper. And in other sporting news, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation recently announced the results of their pilot program that allows 12 and 13-year-olds to hunt deer with a firearm or crossbow. Fall of 2025 saw more than 12,500 young hunters. They harvested more than 2,300 deer. Youngsters need to complete a hunter safety course, buy a New York State big game hunting license, and be accompanied by a licensed adult mentor who has at least 3 years of experience. The program will go into its 6th year this coming fall. Well, Elizabeth has been checking on what's doing in arts and entertainment.
Now, I know this first event I'm going to share with you is a little bit of a drive, but I think sometimes even if it's a little bit of a drive, you need to do it because there's wonderful events happening all around us. The World Ballet Company, the Kiev Ballet, will be performing Swan Lake May 14th in Binghamton. Live orchestra, Broome City Forum Theater. This will be a wonderful event to take your family to. Sometimes they come to the Palace Theater. They may be coming there. I'm not sure. But the May 14th is definitely something you could make a day of. Go check Swan Lake out. If you've never gone, if you've never taken your family member or a child, this is something to share with them and make a memory. Next February 24th to April 12th, artists respond to poetry. artistsmidhudson.org. 20 artists, 20 visual artists, 20 poets, and they combine their passion to show the connection of how words can move visual interpretation, as well as visual artists taking inspiration from profound words from poets. It will be at the Arts Mid-Hudson Gallery in Poughkeepsie. You can go to artsmidhudson.org and find out more information. They always have wonderful artist opportunities and open calls. So even though it's in Kingston, Poughkeepsie, it's definitely still worth checking out to get your work out there, whatever that genre is. Next at Woodstock, Bearsville Theater, the famous Bearsville Theater. Songs and Stories, March 19th. Songwriter and storyteller Drew Angus with his band. He has been said to be an incredible phenom. His ability to, again, take words and make a visual interpretation through sound, through music. These are all things that you should share with your family. Next, open call for Focus on the Arts. Do you have an event coming up? A gallery opening, a performance, Open Eye Theater, Art Up, Longyear, Wyndham Fine Arts Gallery? Let me know. We'll have you on the show, help promote your event, get more people sitting in the audience. Thank you for watching. Keep watching, check it out, CatskillsAir for my latest interviews. Have a wonderful creative day.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Even with ice, snow, and cold temps, there's still plenty to do. So is it going to warm up in these last days of February? Let's check next week's weather.
Good day, Catskill Mountain friends and neighbors. It's Lori with CatskillsAir, bringing you your weekly weather update for the beautiful, pristine, still highly wacky and unpredictable weather Catskill Mountain region. And folks, we're going to kick off our week with a bomb diggity nor'easter, and we're going to get the tail end of it to kick off our week. And it looks like Mother Nature, Old Man Winter, and Jack Frost are teaming up to make sure that old groundhog gets his way and we get 6 full weeks of winter, because boy, oh boy, do we have a whole lot of shaking of the globe to bring down the rest of February. And I believe March is going to be full of that too. But let's just give it a go and check out what's happening in the Catskill High Peaks in weather. And let's go. On Monday, we're going to kick off our weekend winding down the winter storm warning from the end of the weekend snowstorm. We're going to have snow during the morning hours, which will taper off to light snow in the afternoon with an additional 2 to 4 inch accumulation. Temperatures are going to top out in the mid to upper 20s. Winds are going to be gusting out of the north-northwest at 10 to 20. Overnight, we have cloudy skies with floating flurries. Temperatures are going to dip back to a little bit of frigid temperatures, 10 to 12 degrees, winds gusting out of the northwest at 10 to 20. On Tuesday, we have a mostly cloudy and very chilly day, cold and brisk, with temps only topping out in the upper teens, winds gusting out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15. Overnight, we have cloudy skies with snow developing after midnight, light accumulation of 1 to 3 inches, depending on where you're located in the Catskill Mountains, with temperatures dipping back to 9 to 10 degrees, winds lightly blowing out of the south-southwest at 5 to 10. On Wednesday, we have a very breezy day with variable clouds with snow showers with light accumulation throughout the day, only up to an inch. Temps are going to be in the low 30s, winds gusting out of the southwest at 10 to 15. Overnight, we have mostly cloudy skies with floating flurries. Light to no accumulation. Temps are going to dip back to the upper teens, low 20s, winds gusting out of the west at 10 to 15. On Thursday, we have cloudy skies with snow showers and freezing drizzle in the morning, with steady snow in the afternoon, with 1 to 3 inch accumulation. Temps are going to hang around the mid-30s, winds out of the south at 5 to 10. Overnight, we have snow showers, more shaking of the globe with a 1 to 2 inch accumulation overnight. Temps are going to dip back to the low 20s, winds out of the west-southwest at 5 to 10. And on Friday, we're going to wind down our week with cloudy skies, with afternoon sunshine, very windy conditions. Temps are going to top out near 30, winds gusting out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15. And overnight, we have a few passing clouds, might see a floating flurry. Temperatures are going to dip back to the upper teens, low 20s, winds lightly blowing out of the southwest at 5 to 10. As I bid you farewell, remember that weather and temperature changes on a dime, especially in the beautiful Catskills. Be sure to join me, Lori, for your weekend weather update, because I have a feeling we might see some peaks of sunshine, tiptoe and teeter-totter on the temperatures, but sunshine it is for the weekend ahead. Be sure to join me from somewhere in the Cats.
That's it for CatskillsAir News. If you see something, let us know. And remember, spring is just around the corner. I'm Jessica Murphy. Bye for now.